So that's the more practical part of ADHD, like the symptoms and strategies to manage it. But for me, another huge part of my ADHD is how it is part of my identity. For me, the neurodiversity movement allows someone like me with a brain based condition to find community in people who have really similar experiences and struggles. And within the neurodivergent community, there's the ADHD community. And I love being part of it, hanging out with fellow dopamine hungry, interest based brains. We always have ADHD humming along in our lives, and it can be pretty funny sometimes. And I love that, there are other people like me with brains like me. My neurodivergence isn't all of me, but it does very much make me who I am. It's just as important to me as my Asian American identity, and therein lies my struggle. I occupy this strange area between the neurodivergent community and the Asian American community. And this is my life. I live this every day because this is just who I am. And I'm noticing that my Asian American identity and my ADHD rub against each other a lot, like sandpaper a lot. Um, and I often feel like I'm standing in a void between ADHD land and the Asian American community, even the Asian American mental health advocates, because the predominantly white ADHD community is like, oh, we need to be less racist. But like many other mainstream American avenues, they forget that Asian Americans are people of color too, that BIPOC are not just Black and Latinx folks. So Asians are just often not mentioned in their anti-racism efforts. And ADHD research has come a long way since the days of only studying white boys, but even with my hardcore digging, and I'm kind of good at hardcore digging, I can't find good ADHD statistics on the rates of ADHD diagnosis in Asian Americans. In, in studies that include blacks and Hispanics and white people, a lot of the times there's only one other category, and that's other. So, Native Americans, Asians, everyone else, I don't know, like, we get lumped in there. Or a study somehow includes all of, the general race categories, but it reports really low rates of ADHD among Asian Americans compared to white people and other BIPOC. And I don't believe that. I think cultural and societal beliefs on both the Asian and American sides prevent ADHD from getting noticed and diagnosed and treated among Asian Americans, but I don't think Asians are any less likely to have ADHD. We're human like everyone else, and we have the same struggles and issues that everyone else has. We're no better. Um, and I want people to know that, but how can I address that at all if there's no data? I like having data that I can refer to, and it just doesn't exist, which is just not even cool. And I just and on the Asian American side, right now, at least from what I see, the Asian American community is coming to terms with coming out of the silence and shame to talk about mental illness and therapy, to say the words anxiety and depression instead of not saying it at all. And I'm very proud of the Asian American community for doing that. But, if ADHD or any other neurodivergent condition is mentioned at all, it's an afterthought, with anxiety and depression and, the, I don't know, more common mental illnesses taking the stage. And I don't know if it's a stigma against disability, whether visible or invisible in Asian culture. I don't know if it's a stigma against neurodivergence within the mental illness stigma, or if we've internalized the model minority myth, or are trying to maintain face so we just don't even think about these conditions existing. So we just don't think about it or talk about it. And so we have a long ways to go. But what I hope for is this. I hope that the Asian American community won't just break down the stigma against mental illness in general, and it mostly being anxiety and depression. I hope that it can move beyond that and also see and appreciate neurodivergence, because it does exist. So there's a wall, basically, that blocks the intersection of Asian Americanness and neurodivergence. Neurodivergence isn't talked about in Asian American circles. The existence of Asian Americans with ADHD and other neurodivergent conditions isn't talked about in neurodivergent circles. And then there's me. I'm stuck in the middle, where it feels like I can be Asian American and struggle with anxiety and depression, or I can have ADHD, but I can't be both. But I am both. So I want to be real. For me, being neurodivergent isn't a curse. It's not a gift either. It just is. It's my way of being in the world that I can't change. And yeah, sometimes it's really hard and frustrating, and other times it's exciting and hilarious, and sometimes it's just neutral and just like, whatever, it exists. But what makes having ADHD really frustrating is living in a world that plays by neurotypical rules and expectations, or for me, I have to straddle two worlds, an Asian world and an American world, that have different sets of expectations that both assume neurotypical brain functioning. So it's just like, it's hard being in either world when your brain works differently. And so I wish that there were intersectionality between the Asian stuff and the neurodivergent stuff, because right now there isn't, and I have to navigate these identity-based communities by, if I'm in one community, I'm like, yes, I feel seen, I feel acknowledged, I feel like I belong, at least that part of me. But that community is implicitly against that other aspect of my identity, whether through silence by not mentioning that other aspect's existence, or by believing false assumptions. And so it's just like, okay, yeah, good, nope, or like, yeah, good, nope. And that's hard and that's confusing. I wish that both worlds could become more open and accepting of different ways of existing, thinking, functioning, and living. I might not be the norm in respect to race and my brain wiring in America, but I can't possibly be unique in being a neurodivergent Asian American. There must be many more neurodivergent Asian Americans out there like me. And if my talking about this stuff can help you be a little more honest with yourself and learn a little more about the world around you and seek help maybe for your struggles, and I don't know, maybe not go through the stuff I've gone through, then I'm down to keep talking. And for people who are neurotypical or not Asian, I just want you to know about this intersection of Asian Americanness and neurodivergence, and that people like me live lives in this intersection. I'm complicated, we're all complicated, and you don't have to learn everything about it to totally understand it and have all the answers and be right and stuff. It's about learning to understand better and, I don't know, help people live better lives. But wherever we are on the brain spectrum, there's power in awareness, in knowledge, in honesty. There's peace in acceptance. There's strength in seeking help. There's healing in kindness and in listening with open ears, heart, and mind. And I want both the Asian American part of me and the neurodivergent part of me to be seen, because this world is ours, and I want to be in it with you all as my whole self. ADHD, Asian Americanness, Emily-ness, everything. Because I don't want to hide anymore. Yeah, so that's, yeah, Asian Americans with ADHD, neurodivergent Asian Americans, we exist. So thanks for joining me on this long episode, and now actually stay tuned for the next episode, which will be about mental health. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I will see you next time.